From a single mother in Daytona Beach, searching for love through prison letters,
Like, I'm dating an inmate who's not staying with me. He's paying my bills. That was the perfect life. Oh my goodness. If he wanted me to be his girl, he was going to provide. I don't care if he was in federal prison.
to a felony arrest, a shattered business, and the mugshot circulating across the internet. This is how Andrea Sylvester's story became one of Love After Lockup's most heartbreaking unravelings. Andrea Sylvester entered the Love After Lockup universe in 2018 during Season 2, bringing with her the kind of raw, unfiltered energy the franchise thrives on. A single mother from Daytona Beach, Florida, she wasn't looking for a conventional romance. She was looking for redemption, not her own, someone else's.
We could be bigger than Jay and Beyonce.
Me and Leandre was in a relationship for 2 months before he started, helping me out on my bills. He just asked me how much was my rent.
She found Leandre Fluker through a prison pen pal program. He was serving a 13-year sentence for drug trafficking, cocaine sales within 1,000 feet of a church. He was 25 when they locked him up. By the time Andrea started writing him letters, he had already spent years behind bars with a release date that felt like a lifetime away.
Like, I'm dating an inmate who's not staying with me. He's paying my bills. That was the perfect life. Oh my goodness. If he wanted me to be his girl, he was going to provide. I don't care if he was in federal prison.
But Andrea didn't care about the timeline. She cared about the connection. Their relationship escalated fast. Letters turned into phone calls. Phone calls turned into prison visits. And somewhere in that progression, Andrea convinced herself she had found something real, something worth waiting for, something worth defending against everyone who told her she was making a mistake.
I'm looking for something more like tight-fitted.
Okay.
Like bust.
I'm not nosy. I don't dig into things to try to, and that's where a lot of relationships go bad. People go looking for things.
Her family didn't approve. Her friends thought she was delusional, but Andrea was a no-nonsense woman with a stubborn streak, and she wasn't about to let anyone talk her out of what she believed was love. What she couldn't see was that she was building her entire emotional future on a foundation made of sand.
Me and Leandre had plenty discussion about me doing my photo shoot. He doesn't approve of it, but my last body paint and my sales went up. I'm just gonna wait until...
Leandre Fluker wasn't just any inmate. He styled himself the Daytona Scarface. He talked about his pre-arrest life like he was narrating a crime epic. Drug empire, street connections, the whole Tony Montana fantasy, just with a Florida zip code. The reality was less cinematic. He got arrested at 25 for selling cocaine near a worship center. Not exactly kingpin material, but Leandre had learned something valuable in prison, how to sell a story. And he sold Andrea completely. On camera, he was charming, vulnerable when he needed to be, tough when the moment called for it. He talked about church on Sundays and building a family. He told Andrea she had a pure heart and praised her for not judging his past. He made her feel like she was the one person who truly understood him, but the cracks showed early. During prison visits, Leandre displayed a possessive streak that should have sent Andrea running. He demanded to know about her daily life. He questioned her loyalty. He expressed jealousy over her independence, which was remarkable considering he was the one locked in a cell. Their phone calls frequently devolved into arguments, where his temper erupted over perceived slights. He alternated between affection and guilt-tripping with the precision of someone who had mastered manipulation as a survival skill. And Andrea, desperate to believe in the
fairy tale she had constructed, absorbed it all. She even kept the relationship hidden from parts of her family, fearing the backlash.
That's never a good sign. When you're hiding your love from the people who care about you, some part of you already knows something is wrong. But Andrea pushed forward. She talked about marriage. She envisioned a future family. She defended Leandre against every skeptic, convinced that her love would be the thing that transformed him. Viewers were divided. Some admired her loyalty. Others saw a woman so deep in denial that she couldn't recognize she was being played. The emotional toll of their relationship played out in confessional after confessional. Andrea tearfully professing her love, Andrea justifying his behavior, Andrea waiting for a man who might not be released until 2026. Loving someone in prison isn't just emotionally exhausting, it's financially draining, it's socially isolating, and it leaves you building a life around a person who quite literally cannot be present for it. Andrea gave years of her life to this waiting game, and when the cameras stopped rolling, the real test began. After their season wrapped, Andrea and Leandre's relationship continued off-screen, with all the volatility viewers had witnessed on television: the distance, the unresolved trust issues, the fundamental incompatibility of a free woman and an incarcerated man trying to maintain something that looked like a partnership. By late 2024, the relationship was officially over. Leandre, still behind bars at that point, pivoted to self-improvement, or at least the appearance of it. He launched a clothing line from prison called Leandre Jamal Global, streetwear with a redemption twist, he called it. He talked about writing a memoir. He posted motivational content to whatever social media access he could manage. When the breakup became public, his response was telling. He declared himself married to the money. Not a word about Andrea, not an acknowledgement of what she had sacrificed, just a pivot to the next hustle. Andrea, meanwhile, channeled her energy into something constructive. She launched I-Class Sunwear, a line of stylish eyewear that reflected her vibrant personality. For the first time since appearing on Love After Lockup, she seemed to be building something for herself, rather than waiting for someone else. Her social media showed glimpses of a woman healing, a mother focused on her children, an entrepreneur carving out independence. Fan sites noted her progress with cautious optimism. Maybe Andrea was going to be one of the success stories. Maybe she had escaped the franchise's notorious curse. Then came May 2025. Leandre Fluker walked out of prison. His original sentence had been a staggering 74 years, reduced to roughly 13-15 through legal maneuvering. On May 4th, he tasted freedom for the first time since his mid-20s. His first day out was documented in a YouTube video, hugging family, riding in cars, eating home-cooked food. The Daytona Scarface persona had softened. He seemed grateful, reflective, less interested in playing a character and more focused on simply existing as a free man. He showed up at Daytona Beach's Biketoberfest in October 2025, mingling at rallies, projecting a community-oriented vibe that contrasted sharply with his prison bravado. His social media filled with gym sessions, motivational quotes, and hip-hop references. The tone had shifted from hustler to influencer. By late 2025, Leandre appeared to be thriving. Modest clothing line success, memoir in progress, active across TikTok, Twitter, Facebook and Instagram, with over 200 posts showcasing his living life rebrand. He was single, focused, and notably silent about Andrea. The man Andrea had waited years for was free, and he was doing fine without her. Meanwhile, Andrea's trajectory was about to take a turn no one saw coming. December 7th, 2025, 7:10 p.m., Daytona Beach, Florida. Volusia County Sheriff's deputies arrested Andrea Katrina Sylvester at a local Walmart on a felony charge of petite theft. She was 43 years old, a single mother, a business owner, and now a woman in handcuffs. The mugshot circulated within hours. Long dark hair, composed expression, fatigued eyes. A plain white tank top. The image of a woman who had just watched her world collapse. Bond was set at $2,500. The charge was classified as a third-degree felony under Florida Statute 812.0143C. Not because the theft itself was particularly serious, but because of what the booking records revealed. Andrea had prior theft convictions, multiple ones. This wasn't her first offense. Under Florida law, repeat offenders face escalated charges even for relatively minor incidents. A simple shoplifting case becomes a felony when your record already carries similar marks. The value of what she took? $205.39. That's the number that destroyed everything Andrea had been building. The arrest affidavit tells a story that's almost too sad to be true. Loss prevention officers at Walmart observed Andrea concealing items in reusable bags. Medical supplies mostly. Scrubs, a blood pressure cuff, a stethoscope, basic equipment for someone entering the healthcare field. When deputies stopped her before she could exit, she didn't run, she didn't resist. She cooperated fully, providing a complete confession after being read her Miranda rights. Her explanation was simple and devastating. Andrea was scheduled to start a new job in the medical field the following morning. She needed the supplies. She didn't have the money. In her pocket, officers found a crumpled napkin with a handwritten shopping list, blood pressure kit, nurse bag, nurse accessories. She wasn't stealing for profit, she wasn't stealing for thrills. She was stealing because she was broke and desperate and saw no other way to show up for a job that might have been her path forward. The items were recovered in full. nothing left the store.
Walmart got their merchandise back. But Andrea's life was about to get substantially harder. Let's talk about what this arrest actually means for Andrea Sylvester. Under Florida law, a third-degree felony carries potential penalties of up to 5 years in prison and $5,000 in fines. Given the low value of the theft and her cooperative behavior, she's unlikely to see the inside of a cell for long. Probation, community service, or a withheld adjudication that allows charge dismissal upon completion are all realistic outcomes. But the collateral damage extends far beyond the courtroom. Her business, I-Class Sunwear, now operates under the shadow of a felony arrest. Licensing complications, reputational damage, the kind of Google results that make potential customers think twice. Her children. Andrea is a single mother. Family court judges take felony charges seriously, even non-violent ones. Custody arrangements that seemed stable can suddenly become contested. Her employment prospects. The very medical job she was trying to prepare for almost certainly requires background checks. Healthcare facilities don't typically hire people with active felony cases, regardless of the circumstances. And her public image. Andrea Sylvester is no longer the fiery, resilient woman from Love After Lockup, who built a business and moved on with her life. She's the woman in the mugshot. The woman who couldn't afford $200 worth of scrubs. The woman whose downfall just got worse. The fan community's reaction has been notably sympathetic. Comments across Instagram, TikTok, and various Love After Lockup forums have leaned toward compassion rather than condemnation. One fan wrote, "Ah, the less memorable Andrea." Another one said, "I guess Leandre quit supporting her, so now she's reduced to stealing." People understand desperation. They understand being broke and facing an impossible choice. They understand that sometimes good intentions collide with bad decisions in ways that leave wreckage everywhere. Fan accounts like All Things Lockup were quick to clarify that this was the other Andrea. The distinction mattered because Andrea Sylvester's story, while compelling, had faded from active discussion. Until now. TikTok influencers framed the arrest as evidence of the franchise's notorious impact on participants. The Love After Lockup curse isn't just a meme, it's a pattern. Cast members who appeared on the show frequently struggle with legal issues, financial problems, and relationship disasters long after their seasons air. Some fans have called for crowdfunding to cover her bond and legal fees. Others have suggested her case could become an advocacy platform for the economic pressures facing single mothers in Florida. Whether any of that materializes remains to be seen. What's clear is that Andrea Sylvester's story has re-entered public consciousness at the worst possible moment. The timing of this arrest feels almost cruel when you consider the broader context. Andrea spent years emotionally and financially invested in Leandre Fluker. She waited for a man serving over a decade behind bars. She defended him against skeptics. She believed in his redemption. And when the relationship finally ended, she tried to rebuild. Then Leandre got out. And while he was posting gym selfies and promoting his clothing line, Andrea was allegedly stealing scrubs from Walmart because she couldn't afford to start a healthcare job. He's living his best life, she's in a mugshot. The disparity is staggering. Andrea gave years to a relationship that drained her emotionally and presumably financially. Leandre walked away, walked out of prison, and landed on his feet. Andrea stayed in Daytona Beach, raised her kids, started a business, and still found herself unable to scrape together $205 for work supplies. This isn't about assigning blame. Leandre didn't cause Andrea's arrest. But the contrast illuminates something important about the power dynamics in prison relationships. And when the relationship ends, they're often left with nothing but depleted resources and wasted years. Leandre is thriving, Andrea is not. One fan wrote, "Damn, I wish I would have seen this arrest on Patrol Live so my favorite realty worlds could collide. Daytona cops are my favorite." Another one said, "I didn't even recognize her. Wow, I had to look her up." As of now, Andrea Sylvester remains in custody pending her $2,500 bond. No court appearance has been scheduled. No statement has been released.
The legal system will process her case. Given the circumstances, she'll likely avoid significant jail time. But the damage to her reputation, her business, and her stability has already been done. Her trajectory from here could go several directions. Maybe she becomes an advocate. Her story highlights the impossible choices facing single mothers living paycheck to paycheck. The desperation that leads someone to risk everything for $200 worth of supplies isn't a character flaw. It's a symptom of systemic failure. The show's premise is inherently exploitative. It takes vulnerable people, often women with limited resources and complicated histories, and documents their attempts to build relationships with incarcerated partners. The entertainment value comes from watching these dynamics play out, the drama, the conflict, the inevitable disappointments. But what happens when the cameras leave? What happens to the women who spent their savings on prison visits and legal fees? What happens when the relationship ends and they're left holding the emotional and financial bill? Andrea invested years in Leandre Fluka. She believed in transformation. She defended impublicly. She took criticism from family and friends who saw what she couldn't see. The franchise doesn't track these outcomes. It doesn't provide support for cast members whose lives unravel after their seasons air. It takes what it needs for ratings and moves on to the next couple, the next drama, the next train wreck waiting to happen. Andrea Sylvester isn't just a cautionary tale about prison relationships. She's evidence of what the show leaves in its wake. There's one more thing worth noting. The list in Andrea's pocket, the crumpled napkin with her handwritten notes, blood pressure kit, nurse bag, nurse accessories. That list represents something important. It represents a woman who was trying, who had a plan, who saw a path forward and was attempting to walk it despite every obstacle in her way. She wasn't stealing for entertainment. She wasn't stealing because she didn't care about consequences. She was stealing because the gap between where she was and where she needed to be felt impossible to bridge any other way. That doesn't excuse the choice. Theft is theft. Actions have consequences. Andrea will face those consequences in the Volusia County court system over the coming months. But it does humanize her in a way that mugshots and felony charges tend to obscure. We'll keep following Andrea's case as it develops. If you want updates on her situation and other Love After Lockup stories, make sure to subscribe.